On the Harvard 2s earlier, I noticed that the bubble canopy on the Mustang has been rolled back. Like you said, it gets very, very hot, but it's also a safety precaution. If for some reason the pilot needs to exit the aircraft very, very quickly, he's already got the canopy back. All he needs to do is unstrap and climb out of the airplane. So, dual purpose there for rolling back the canopy. It's hot, but it's also a safety precaution.
And there's the Corsair on the ground, safely taxiing in. Let's give a big round of applause to our friends from the Erickson Aircraft Collection from Madras, Oregon. I do urge you to go there. It is simply world class.
All right, we're going to continue on with our air show program here, and I am very delighted to welcome to the microphone Mr. Cameron David Loudon from NORAD. Welcome to Abbotsford 2024, Cameron.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure from NORAD to be here at Abbotsford once again. On behalf of General Greg Eo, the commander of NORAD, we are pleased to be showing an example of our NORAD intercept procedure display that we're going to display right now for the crowd. If you look to your right, we're going to see an F-16 that's slowly taking up position on the runway, and we're going to have him there in case we need to use him.
Now, a little earlier on in the airshow program, during the Cormorant demonstration, we saw a general aviation aircraft take off. I just assumed that they were going for a little bit of a fun flight. The airshow was grateful to, or happy to accommodate that. But I understand also that maybe this airplane has started to get themselves into a little bit of trouble by crossing into inappropriate airspaces around the airfield while we're trying to do this air show.
We've been talking to the Canadian Air Defence Sector in North Bay, Ontario. We've indeed had the same tip-off that he could be giving us some trouble in a flight restricted area that we have around the air show right now. One of our missions in NORAD is to defend such airspaces, and we've been tasked with defending this one right now. So we'll get word on whether this guy's going to be a problem or not, and if he is, we'll take tactical action and go see who he is.
All right, well, in the meantime, while we're waiting for that to happen, tell us a little bit more about the NORAD mission.
Well, right now you're going to see it. If everybody looks to the right, you can see the F-16. We have just scrambled them to go intercept this aircraft, and we don't know what's going on. Unknown aircraft, and we're going to see what's going on.
All right, in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the F-16. Where is it from and who's piloting the aircraft?
So right now we have Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Crabb, call sign of Chaff. He's from the 120th Fighter Squadron at Buckley Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado.
All right. And of course, you mentioned this already, the F-16 getting off the ground in a very quick time. How long does it take approximately from getting a target to scrambling the aircraft and getting the aircraft on target?
Depends what asset we're using, but we're going to get him off the ground really as quick as possible. The numbers vary a little bit. In this case, you saw he left very quickly. In a real world situation, he'd be running to the aircraft, hopping in it, and getting off the ground. But you can just see him off to the west right now, and it appears he is rolling in on the aircraft. So what we're trying to do here is figure out who this airplane is and what his intentions are. We have people at the various air defense sectors in NORAD. They're working feverishly to try and figure out the identity of this aircraft. So we're going to bring the F-16 up on the right side of the aircraft. He's going to do a set of maneuvers to try and get the attention of the pilot. As you see him crossing right to left, he's now in a tactical position off the right wing, and he's going to start rocking his wings, which is an indicator to the pilot that we're trying to get your attention and we want you to follow us. There he goes. That should be a great indicator to the pilot something's up, and it's not a coincidence that a military airplane here.
Now, it's fascinating to me, David, that the F-16 is a supersonic fighter jet, and yet it can get so slow to try and intercept these aircraft.
That is true. It gets slow. It doesn't necessarily get slow enough, but when NORAD does this operation, we'll actually launch 2 airplanes. So you can picture another one that's about 3 miles behind. He's maintaining a low, slow weed behind. He's establishing a tactical position, and he can stay there in communications with his lead wingman that we just saw pass. They can share any information, and he's in a spot to take any action if he has to.
Now, we're making it look like these pilots are really bad people. Sometimes it's an innocent mistake that happens. Why does it actually happen?
Poor planning from the general aviation pilots. So that's why we're out here, is we're trying to educate the population that flies that we want them to do mission planning. We want them to look at the information that they have at their hands so they don't fly into one of these TFRs or an FRA here in Canada. In the United States, we're tasked with defending the Special Flight Rules area in Washington, D.C. The President, whenever he's traveling, we have a 30-mile TFR around them, and NORAD is concerned about these security TFRs, and these are the ones that we will launch aircraft to find out who is intruding in them.
All right, well, I see our general aircraft is continuing in another circuit here while the F-16 keeps an eye on them. Set up this next pass. Tell us a little bit about what's happening now.
So behind the scenes at the headquarters, the sectors, there's a whole bunch of people trying to figure out the information of this aircraft. We picked up his tail number on the first pass. People are figuring out who this aircraft belongs to, if there's any history or bad intentions of this, the owner of this aircraft. They're putting it all together, but we're starting to get a little bit more nervous because he did not follow the direction on the first pass. He just kept flying along, blissfully unaware, thinking it was just a coincidence. I had a military airplane up here, probably waved at him, and then just kept going on his merry way. So NORAD, we're getting a little more jumpy here, and we're trying to figure out as to what's going on. So we're going to up our game a little bit. On this pass, we're going to do a maneuver called a headbutt. Now, for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to use afterburners to replace the use of flares, but you're going to see the F-16 come up on the left wing. He's going to rock the wings again, but ultimately he's going to fire across the nose of the aircraft in a safe manner. The afterburners will indicate the use of flares, which is really us trying to get the attention of the bad airplane. So here he comes. He's going to start rocking the wings here in a second, but he's going to culminate crossing the nose safely.
I think something else is going on.
Ironically, we've had situations where they thought just that there was a fighter up there just to say hello and they were going to have a little fun. But in this case, the headbutt works, so you'll see that the target aircraft is now following him. And that's what NORAD wants. We're trying to defend center of a TFR, and the goal is to figure out who that aircraft is, what his intentions are, and we have to get him away from that center. Once we do, we're starting to get our mission accomplished.
Now, you mentioned the acronym TFR. Do you want to explain just a little bit more what we mean by that abbreviation?
It's called a temporary flight restricted area, and we have them in numerous places. You'll see them over ball games, you'll see them over forest fires, things like that. Those ones don't concern NORAD as much as the security ones that I mentioned earlier, around the President, Washington, D.C., special events like the Super Bowl, even various conventions, for example, politically down in the U.S. that's happening now. So that's what NORAD is really concerned about, the security.
Now, I heard you mention it depends on what aircraft you're using in relation to the performance of the various aircraft you use and the timings that are involved in a scramble. What are some of the other aircraft that are at NORAD's disposal for these kind of intercepts?
Great question. NORAD has not just the F-16 here. It depends where you are in the United States and Canada. You'll have F-16 at numerous locations. We have the F-15 as well. If you're in Alaska, you may see an F-22. The F-35 is slowly coming into the U.S. inventory. And up in Canada, if we were doing this, we'd have an RCAF F-18 F-16, ultimately the F-35. A great lead in here is, why are we using an aircraft, U.S. aircraft here in Canada? This is a great example of the shared involvement in NORAD between Canada and the United States. We can use U.S. airplanes in Canada, we can use Canadian aircraft in the United States.
So at this point in the intercept, describe for us what's happening. It looks like our GA aircraft is getting a little bit lower and slower, but the F-16 is still keeping an eye on them.
Yep, so we have got we're going to do a direct to land. So he's following in, and you're going to see the landing gear of the F-16. They'll have it lowered, which is the international flight symbol for directing him to land at the airport I'm pointing you at. So you're going to see the bad guys that have realized the error of their ways. They're going to be directed to land here at Abbotsford. We're going to have some security folks to meet them, talk to them, find out why they erred in their ways. But the F-16 is going to follow them along very slowly with his landing gear down until the aircraft is safely down. Then he'll head off, maintain a tactical position overhead until he knows security forces have met the aircraft.
All right,
chain that NORAD had another successful intercept of a TFR intruding aircraft. And that's what we are doing as part of our mission here to defend the airspace of both Canada and the United States. This originated in 1958 when NORAD was created, and we were in the Cold War at that time, and our main mission was to defend against any adversarial threats that may occur. And the operation of 9/11, it changed things how we do in NORAD. And our mission set changed a little bit, and it evolved into us looking internally for potential threats, which leads to the TFR defense that we exhibited here.
Now, as we were watching, I sensed that there was a lot of precision and excellence in these intercepts. It looks like it's a well-oiled machine. It would suggest to me that these happen all the time. Is that the case, or?
Sadly, it is. We do this 3 to 4 times a week, which is why we're here to educate. To enjoy the system. As indicated, he's from the 120th Fighter Squadron in Colorado. It is they're known as a unit of first. They're an Air National Guard unit, and they were first in the Air Guard, formed in 1923, originally flying Jennies. They've gone through their history. They were the first and only Air National Guard aerial demonstration team known as the Minutemen, and in 1968 they were the first Air National Guard unit mobilized for combat in Vietnam. They had over 6,000 sorties and 10,000 hours in Vietnam. Since then, they've transitioned through numerous aircraft, F-80, F-86, F-100, the A-7, until they came in and are flying the current version of the F-16.
Couple more questions that I want to ask you. During these intercepts, are the airplanes actually carrying weapons?
If we were doing this for real, from the normal ACA sites around Canada and the United States, the aircraft that showed up on your wingtip would be armed. He'd have a collection of missiles and a gun. Ultimately, we hope we never have to use them, but they are certainly in a position that they can do so if they have to.
So definitely not a private air show for that general aviation aircraft.
As we just showed everybody, no, this was not a private air show.
So what can pilots do to prevent these kinds of things from happening in the future?
This is what we ask the general aviation crowd, is do your education. You're a pilot. With that comes responsibilities, and we want you to do your mission planning and everything that will preclude an event like this happening. So it was a great pleasure for NORAD, as you see chaff rolling out here on final. NORAD's been doing this for over 66 years. We've been monitoring the airspace in and around North America for airborne threats. NORAD personnel at the headquarters in Colorado, in the NORAD regions in Alaska, Canada, and the continental United States, all 4 air defense sectors, and at the wings and bases across the U.S. and Canada that do support our flight operations. They serve every day to keep you safe, which is why at NORAD we say we have the watch.
And the next most important job of NORAD, of course, is at Christmas Eve, always tracking Santa Claus as he makes his way across the world.
That's a great point. For all the kids that are out here watching this, just remember on December 24th, when your parents show you Santa Claus trap flying around the world, that comes from NORAD, and we make sure he gets through and delivers all the presents.
Well, thank you very much, Major Loudon, for joining me up here on the announcer stage. Let's give NORAD and our pilots a great round of applause for doing a great demonstration of a simulated intercept.
Absolutely our pleasure. Glad the crowd enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Ken, I just got a message from my daughter who's here with my grandson. Quote, Blake thought it was crazy that the jet causes lemonade to vibrate. If you think it's vibrating from that, wait till the F-22 takes to the skies. I tell you right now, lots of air show still coming up indeed. We've got, well, a T-33, a classic T-33 is going to take the skies. A backwards airplane is on its way. And of course, that F-22 Raptor will be tearing up the skies in just a few moments. Bob Carlton will be flying a sailplane that has 2 jet engines on it. I kid you not. Your Canadian Forces CF-18 Hornet will be coming up in a little while. Melissa Byrne in her Edge 540. And of course, your Canadian Forces Snowbirds are on their way as well. And just a reminder, please, folks, no smoking. No smoking at all anywhere on the airport grounds, especially around the static aircraft. But we ask no smoking of any type. That includes vaping or whatever. No smoking. And a gentle reminder at all times, remain behind that fence line, that rope that we have out front here as we're facing to the south. It's there for everybody's safety. Under no circumstances, please cross that line. I've been mentioning as well the static aircraft. Oh, gosh, what a great static lineup. This is one of the best static lines I've seen in quite a while. And you want to go check it out. Don't touch any aircraft, don't enter anything unless you are invited. And of course, the autograph booth over toward the hot side, that's over towards the west.
Checking in with our Air Boss team to find out what's happening right now. Well, if you look up to your right, you'll see our commercial airliner just making its way into the airfield. They were set up for an ILS approach using runway 07, but they've elected to circle around and get redirected so that they can land on runway 25. So it's going to be a short little break here as we welcome this commercial aircraft into the Abbotsford Airport. Of course, this airport remaining in semi-operation throughout the air show day. And we really appreciate the cooperation of all of our commercial operators in working with us so that we can continue with Canada's National Air Show right here at YXN.
She's back. How do I post this on Saturday thing on Instagram? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know somebody who does.
I love it when you say she's back. I'm like the glitter of the air show world. Trust me, she can find me everywhere. You can use your hair. So, interesting thing about Instagram is what makes sense. Please just take a selfie of yourself at the air show and tag us at the air show on Instagram. You can also include the hashtag Selfie Saturday. We are on our way right now. I'm working with a team of people. Hi, Lauren, who is racing back to the office to capture some Wi-Fi so she can start looking through what's being posted there. If nothing that I just said makes any sense to you, find someone who understands it and have them show you, because it is definitely, oh look, we've got someone up here on the announcer stand taking a selfie with us as we speak, and then I know he's going to post that, and then we will go ahead and share that on our Instagram. It's just a way for us to see the air show through your eyes, your experience. Are you looking at the statics? Are you over there up against the snow fencing by the hot ramp? Are you going to stand in the autograph line with the CF-18, F-22 taking selfies, whatever the case may be? We'd love to see them, and we'll share them, and we'll put them together in a supercut. And of course, thank you to you, the announcers, as well as everyone else who was a part of this air show for participating as well. We'd love to see them. So again, on Instagram, at having your show. It's been a blast.
Hey, there you go. That's why we got the mediocre boxes. Be able to tell everybody what's going on. Thank you very much, staff.
Good look for us. I love it.
This will be attractive to anyone earning the mediocre bucks. Earn points on every order for free McDonald's with my McDonald's reward.